Liz, I tugged on the corner of my agent's blazer, keeping my voice low. Is there any way I can back out of this? She reacted as if I'd suggested setting myself on fire, dragging me into an alcove. She told me to take a good, hard look at the buyout clause in the contract. I scanned the document, my breath catching in my throat. The string of zeros was dizzying enough to make me feel faint, a sum that would not only bankrupt me but indebt me for the next 3 generations. When the offer first came through, the paycheck was all I saw. Who could have guessed it meant working with my sworn enemy? Liz poked me in the forehead, her frustration palpable. She reminded me that Ethan Hayes' team had specifically asked for me. My head snapped up. Couldn't believe it. He had to have done this on purpose. Just then, the door to the makeup trailer swung open. Ethan stood there in his wardrobe, his dark hair still damp at the temples from the stylist's spray. I stared at his face, which was, infuriatingly, perfect. 2 years had only sharpened his features. He was wearing a simple white button-down and black trousers, yet he made it look like it was straight off a runway. He walked over to me, his warm breath ghosting across my ear as he spoke. He wished me a pleasant collaboration. My name, Caleb, sounded like a taunt on his lips. I clenched my fists, my nails digging into my palms. The astronomical penalty fee flashed in my mind, and my heart sank. It was over. There was no escaping this movie. Ethan was my college roommate at UCLA. We never got along. I remembered our first meeting on move-in day. I'd offered a friendly greeting. He'd given a curt nod, one hand shoved in the pocket of his ridiculously expensive jeans. My initial thought was that he was an arrogant prick. It only got worse from there. Every woman I showed the slightest interest in was invariably drawn to him. I'd finally scored a dinner date with a girl from the art department, only for her to spot him across the dining hall and ask if I could introduce her to my roommate. The grad student I had a crush on, upon learning I lived with Ethan Hayes, only wanted to know if I could get her his number. I just couldn't understand his appeal. Sure, he was a little taller, a little more classically handsome, and his family probably owned half of Malibu, but what was the big deal? After graduation, I'd entered the entertainment industry, only to become a nobody, struggling to make rent. And Ethan? He'd been planning to go to grad school abroad, but then one day he just appeared out of nowhere. His debut film was a blockbuster, launching him straight to the A-list. I remember watching the annual awards ceremony from my shabby studio apartment, eating microwavable mac and cheese. Seeing him on stage, calmly accepting a trophy under the blinding spotlights, made my blood boil. That bastard had to have been sent by the universe specifically to torment me. I never thought our paths would cross again. Then one day, Liz tossed a script on my coffee table, telling me the pay was incredible. I was so worried about my rent, I signed the contract without a second thought. If only I could go back in time. The thought made me hit my own head in frustration. Once my makeup and hair were done, I took a deep breath and pushed the trailer door open. I glanced down at the script for the first scene and felt like I'd been struck by lightning. My character, reuniting with his long-lost first love in a dimly lit cocktail lounge, gets swept up in the moment. The script described a feverish kiss that led to being pressed down onto the sofa. An intense start, to say the least. The director, a warm man named Marcus, beckoned me over, draping an arm around both me and Ethan. He explained the scene needed to convey years of repressed emotions suddenly breaking free. The kiss had to be fierce, bordering on violent, yet underscored by an uncontrollable tremble. My ears burned. I couldn't bring myself to look at Ethan. Marcus clapped his hands, telling us to walk through it once to find the feeling. I stood frozen as Ethan approached, his eyes a deep amber under the neon-set lights, a ghost of a smile playing on his lips. He murmured his line about how long it had been, his voice deeper than usual. The script said I was supposed to grab his shirt and kiss him. My hand trembled as I reached out, hesitating just inches from his chest. "Cut," Marcus called out. He told me I needed more conviction, that this was an explosion of longing and resentment. Ethan leaned in, his voice a low whisper only I could hear, asking if I was scared. His warm breath on my ear sent a shiver down my spine. I looked up, meeting his mocking gaze. Memories of college, of him effortlessly charming every person I'd ever liked, flooded back. To hell with it. I grabbed the lapels of his jacket and, the moment Marcus yelled action, I crushed my mouth against his. Ethan's lips were softer than I'd imagined, with a faint taste of mint. I'd intended to pull away immediately, but he suddenly cupped the back of my head, deepening the kiss. My mind went blank. All I could feel was the searing heat of his palm on my neck and his other arm tightening around my waist, pulling me impossibly closer. The director's excited voice broke through the haze, praising the take and telling us to hold it. It wasn't until Marcus finally yelled cut that I managed to shove Ethan away, stumbling back. My lips were still tingling. Ethan licked his own lips, a dangerous glint in his eyes that suggested he hadn't had enough. Back in my trailer, I grabbed a bottle of water and chugged it down, the cold liquid doing little to erase the feeling of his mouth on mine. I felt like his scent, his very presence, was still lingering on me. I spit into the trash can. My first on-screen kiss. Might as well have been with a dog. A voice from behind me mused aloud about my level of disgust. I turned to see Ethan leaning against the doorframe, a smirk playing on his lips. I ignored him and wiped my mouth with a paper towel. He shrugged, then suggested we grab a bite after work to discuss the script. I gave him a quick no, stating that we could just as easily talk over the phone. He adopted a look of mock helplessness, reminding me that it was difficult to chat when I had him blocked. I'd forgotten about that. I'd blocked him on every platform the day we graduated, for no other reason than I couldn't stand him. Just then, Marcus poked his head in. He raved about the last take but said we needed to get a few more close-ups. He then insisted that, for better communication, we absolutely had to add each other on our phones, so he could send out group notices from the crew. Ethan arched an eyebrow in my direction, agreeing without hesitation. He then wondered aloud if I'd be willing to release him from my block list. Under the director's expectant gaze, I had no choice but to pull out my phone and unblock Ethan's number. I told him it was done through gritted teeth. His smile was infuriating. As he turned to leave, he deliberately touched his lips, right where I had kissed him. Watching him walk away, I had a sinking feeling that the next few months of filming were going to be much longer than I'd anticipated. It was past 2 in the morning when we finally wrapped. I rubbed my sore neck, dragging my exhausted body toward the studio exit. Today had been draining. We res-hot the kiss from a dozen different angles and then moved on to several other emotionally charged scenes. What made it worse was that Ethan nailed every take effortlessly, while I kept getting called out for mistakes. I was sick of hearing the director yell cut. The cool night air made me shiver as I pulled out my phone to order a ride. Just then, a black sedan pulled up beside me. The window rolled down to reveal Ethan's face. He pointed out that getting a car at this hour would be tough and offered to take me for a late-night snack before dropping me home. My first instinct was to refuse, but my stomach betrayed me with a loud growl, embarrassingly audible in the quiet night. Ethan's smirk widened. My face flushed, but hunger won out over pride. I yanked the car door open and got in. He glanced at me in the rearview mirror and asked what I wanted to eat. I stared out the window at the blurred city lights, giving a clipped whatever. He decided on a Cajun place, mentioning that he remembered I used to love it back in college. My brow furrowed. I couldn't imagine how he would know that. He just chuckled and didn't elaborate. The car stopped in front of a stylish restaurant with a neon crawfish sign. Ethan turned to me, explaining the owner was from Louisiana and the food was authentic. Inside, we were led to a private booth. Ethan ordered without even looking at the menu, rattling off a list of dishes that, by some strange coincidence, were all my favorites. He passed the menu to me, asking if there was anything else I wanted. I just shook my head. The food arrived quickly, a steaming platter of spicy crawfish that smelled incredible. My stomach rumbled again, even louder this time. Ethan picked out a large piece and placed it in my bowl, telling me to eat up after a hard day. I stared at the food, completely bewildered. I had no idea what game he was playing, but at that point, I was too hungry to care. The ride to my place was silent. Ethan focused on driving while I stared out the window, lost in thought. His voice pulled me back when he announced we had arrived. I realized we were parked in front of my apartment building. I unbuckled my seatbelt and, after a moment's hesitation, thanked him for the ride and the food. I offered to split the bill with him. He turned to look at me, his eyes dark and unreadable in the dim light of the car. He told me not to worry about the money, but suggested I could invite him up for a cup of coffee instead. "Come in," I said, kicking a pair of stray sneakers out of the way. "I've only got instant. Take it or leave it." Ethan bent down and neatly placed my shoes by the door, acting as if he owned the place. He surveyed my messy living room, the coffee table littered with empty takeout containers and soda cans. He commented on my lack of tidiness. I just rolled my eyes and went to boil some water. I figured I had to endure him for the next few months, so it was better not to make things too hostile. I just had to get through this shoot. I could do this. I shoved a mug of coffee in his direction, telling him to drink up and get out. As he reached for it, his fingers brushed against the back of my hand. I flinched, nearly spilling the hot liquid. He smirked, asking why I was so sensitive after we'd already kissed. I glared at him, reminding him that it was for a scene. Ethan took a sip of his coffee. He then said that we had more intimate scenes tomorrow and perhaps we should practice now to help me get over my sensitivity. I froze. His face was too close, so close I could see the tiny mole near the corner of his eye. I shoved him away, telling him there would be no practice and that he needed to leave so I could get some rest. Ethan just laughed. "All right," he said. "See you tomorrow." The moment the door clicked shut, I collapsed onto the sofa like a deflated balloon. I stared up at the ceiling. I had to admit the guy could act. For a second there, when he leaned in, the predatory look in his eyes had genuinely startled me. I rubbed my temples and dragged myself to the bathroom for a quick shower. I didn't sleep well. My dreams were filled with endless takes of kissing Ethan. The dream version of him was even more of a jerk, holding my chin, kissing me relentlessly, his hands sliding up under my shirt. "Psycho," I muttered upon waking up, burying my face in my pillow. The lack of sleep left me with dark circles under my eyes, and I had to ask the makeup artist for extra concealer. I leaned back in the chair, feeling utterly drained as she worked on my face. The first scene of the day was set in a bathroom. The set was cleared, and the large jacuzzi tub was already filled with warm water, steam creating a humid, intimate atmosphere. I stood in a corner, wrapped in a bathrobe, nervously twisting the belt. Ethan had his back to me, unbuttoning his shirt one button at a time. As the fabric slid off his shoulders, it revealed a broad, well-defined back. Damn it, he was in even better shape than he'd been in college. I had a decent physique, but it was nothing compared to his. Get a good look? He asked, suddenly turning his head to look at me, an amused smirk on his face. I quickly looked away, muttering that I wasn't interested. I told him there was nowhere else to look in the cramped space. Just then, the director's voice called out, asking if we were ready and that we would start in 5 minutes. Ethan took a step back and winked at me, telling me not to be nervous, that it was just a job. I took a deep breath and untied my robe. Water sloshed over the edge of the tub as I got in, straddling him so my thighs were pressed against the hard muscles of his abdomen. Even though we were both wearing shorts, the feeling of our bare chests pressed together sent an electric jolt through me. This was weird, so incredibly weird. I kept my head down, not daring to look at him. If the cameras weren't rolling, I would have pushed him away. Look up. His voice was hoarse, a command as per the script, but his fingers were gentle as they tilted my chin up. Look at me. Water droplets on my eyelashes blurred my vision, but I could still see his eyes, dark pools that seemed to pull me in. In the rising steam, his thumb brushed against my lower lip. I wasn't sure if it was in the script or his own improvisation, but the small touch made my entire body tremble. The director didn't call cut. According to the script, this was when he was supposed to kiss me. The moment our lips met, it started soft and exploratory, then grew fiercer. His hand slid from the back of my neck down my spine, leaving a trail of fire in its wake. I heard a small whimper escape my lips, which he immediately swallowed. Cut. Perfect. That's a wrap on this one. The director's voice boomed, but Ethan was still kissing me. It wasn't until I was breathless and pushed against his chest that he finally pulled back. He offered a low apology, smiling as he claimed he got too caught up in the character. I scrambled out of the tub, haphazardly tying my robe, and fled to my dressing room without looking back. The door slammed shut behind me. I leaned against it, sliding down to the floor. To my absolute horror, I realized I'd gotten aroused while filming a scene with my nemesis. After that scene, I called in sick for 2 days, claiming I had a fever. I lay on my couch, phone tossed aside, running my hands through my hair in frustration. I kept telling myself it was just a normal physiological reaction, but I couldn't get over the mental block. How could I have reacted that way to him, my rival, another man? The doorbell rang suddenly. I dragged myself to the door, wondering who it could be. Peeking through the peephole, I saw Ethan standing outside, holding 2 plastic bags. I froze, contemplating playing dead. His voice came through the door, laced with a hint of amusement. Caleb, I know you're in there. I took a deep breath and yanked the door open. Before I could ask what he was doing here, he had already squeezed past me and was inside. I was dumbfounded. He really did treat my place like his own. He set the bags on my kitchen counter, then turned back to me. He said he'd heard I was sick and brought some food and medicine. The warm, savory scent of soup filled the air. I stood my ground, informing him sourly that I wasn't sick. Ethan paused what he was doing and looked up at me. So you're avoiding me? My throat felt dry. I instinctively took a step back. I denied it, stuttering that I just couldn't deal with my body's reaction to him. You mean getting hard? He finished for me, his tone nonchalant as he tossed the empty plastic bags in the trash. My ears burned. He'd noticed. He came closer, continuing his matter-of-fact assessment. He assured me no one else saw. I felt my face cycle through shades of red and white, but Ethan acted as if nothing was wrong, pushing a container of soup towards me and telling me to eat it while it was hot. I stared at it, struggling to find my voice. I managed to choke out that it was a normal biological response. He nodded in agreement. Then he leaned forward, propping his elbows on the counter. His voice dropped to a low murmur. "Caleb, how about we pretend to be in a relationship?" I nearly choked on my own saliva. I stared at him, convinced he'd lost his mind. He continued calmly, explaining it would only be for the duration of the shoot. He framed it as a way to help me desensitize, questioning if I wanted to keep calling in sick every few days and delaying production. He pointed out that we both wanted to finish this film as quickly as possible. After I calmed down, I considered it. He actually had a point. I gnashed my teeth. Fine, I agreed, but only during filming. I made it clear that this was strictly for the sake of the movie. "Of course, babe," Ethan said. I froze. I told him not to call me that. He just shrugged, remarking that couples often use terms of endearment. I rolled my eyes, retorting that I wouldn't know, since I'd never been in a relationship. Ethan's eyebrows shot up. He said it was a coincidence. Neither had he. I snorted and took a spoonful of soup, muttering that I didn't care what his relationship history was. He then asked if I wanted to go on a date with him. I choked on my soup, looking up at him in disbelief. He confirmed it. A date. Since I was taking the day off anyway, he mentioned a new haunted escape room that had just opened with a horror theme. Just as I was about to refuse, he added that he remembered it was my favorite thing to do in college. How did he know that, too? An hour later, we were standing at the entrance to the escape room. The staff member greeted us with a smile, asking if we were a couple. She mentioned a couple's discount. I was about to say no when Ethan casually slung an arm around my waist. "We are," he said smoothly. "He's a bit of a scaredy cat, so he'll probably be clinging to me the whole time." The staffer looked at us with a knowing smile. I stomped on Ethan's foot, hissing at him about who he was calling a scaredy cat. Once inside, however, I regretted my bravado. Eerie sound effects echoed through the dark corridors. A door creaked open in the distance. I instinctively backed away, bumping into a warm chest. "Falling for me already?" Ethan's voice rumbled from above me. I was about to retort when a prosthetic hand shot out from a hidden panel in the wall and grabbed my wrist. I yelped and practically launched myself into Ethan's arms, my forehead colliding sharply with his chin. He let out a sharp hiss of pain but wrapped his arms around me tighter, telling me not to be scared. I felt a pang of guilt and reached up to touch his chin, asking if he was okay. I told him I didn't mean to hit him so hard. Ethan suddenly grabbed my wrist and leaned his full weight against me, resting his forehead on my shoulder. He mumbled that he felt dizzy. "Hey, don't fake it," I said, my body stiff, my free hand hovering awkwardly in the air. He tightened his grip around my waist, his nose brushing against my earlobe. Seriously, he whispered, "Just hold me for a second, it'll pass." "Ugh, you're so much trouble," I grumbled, but my hand came to rest on his back, steadying him. Ethan let out a low chuckle, his breath warm against my neck. I finally realized he'd been messing with me. I shoved him away. He stumbled back a few steps, and I turned to storm off. He caught up, grabbing my wrist. I tried to pull away, but he just laced his fingers through mine. He leaned close to my ear, whispering that maybe he was a little scared after all. I struggled for another moment, then gave up, letting him hold my hand. In the darkness, his thumb gently stroked the back of my hand, and for some reason, my face felt incredibly hot. I blinked my eyes open, disoriented, and found myself staring directly into a pair of eyes only inches away. Ethan was leaning over me from the driver's seat, one hand braced on the headrest, looking as if he'd been watching me sleep for a while. I asked him what he was doing and why he didn't wake me when we arrived. I jolted backward, banging my head against the car window. He let out a low laugh and reached over to rub the spot. He said I was drooling in my sleep and looked cute, so he didn't have the heart to wake me. I frantically wiped my mouth, only to find it was completely dry. I'd been had again. I rolled my eyes and called him childish, turning away to unbuckle my seatbelt. The clasp was stuck. Ethan leaned over me, his subtle, clean scent filling the small space. His long fingers deftly flicked the release button, and the seatbelt snapped open. Before I could thank him, he paused, his face extremely close to mine, our noses almost touching. He asked if he was going to get a goodnight kiss. I shoved him away, snapped that he wasn't, and scrambled out of the car, nearly tripping over my own feet. I could hear his soft laugh behind me. "See you tomorrow, boyfriend," he called out. The night breeze felt cool against my burning ears as I hurried into my building without looking back. The next morning, as I stepped out of my apartment building, I saw a familiar black car parked at the curb. The window rolled down, and Ethan, wearing a pair of stylish sunglasses, waved at me. I walked over, asking why he was there and telling him he didn't need to pick me up. He took off his sunglasses, his eyes crinkling with a smile. He reasoned that since we were supposed to be in the honeymoon phase, this was expected. He asked if I was already tired of him. "You're so extra," I grumbled, but I still got in the car. The car was filled with the aroma of fresh coffee and pastries. Ethan handed me a paper bag, saying he figured I hadn't eaten and had bought me breakfast. I opened it to find, once again, my favorite breakfast burrito. The car stopped at a red light, and Ethan suddenly spoke. He mentioned we had several kissing scenes scheduled for the day. I knew. He asked if I was nervous. I turned to glare at him, retorting that there was nothing to be nervous about. Suddenly, Ethan unbuckled his seatbelt and leaned across the console. Before I could process what was happening, I felt the warm, soft pressure of his lips on mine. It was a gentle kiss, his tongue tracing the seam of my lips in a way that was both tentative and deliberate. "Just a little warm-up before we get to set," he said, pulling back with a soft bite to my lower lip that left me tingling. This was the first time we'd kissed outside of a scene. The light turned green, and the car started moving again. I took a long sip of my coffee, trying to quell the frantic beating of my heart. "Cut. Perfect. That's the take." The director's voice barely registered. I was still in a daze. Ethan's lips had just left mine, but his fingertips lingered on the back of my neck, sending a fresh wave of shivers down my spine. Liz, my agent, hurried over with a bottle of water, commenting on how well I was doing today, with no retakes. I twisted the cap and took a large gulp, trying to cool down. I mumbled something about finding my rhythm. From the corner of my eye, I saw Ethan leaning against a makeup counter. At my words, he raised an eyebrow, the corner of his mouth twitching into a half smile. The director came over too, asking what my secret was and if I could share it with everyone. I nearly choked on my water. I couldn't exactly announce that Ethan and I were in a fake relationship. I stammered out a lame excuse about watching a lot of reference films. Ethan let out a soft laugh. He sauntered over, casually draping his arm over my shoulders. He announced that we were going to go discuss our motivation for the next scene. I laughed nervously and agreed. As we walked away, I heard Liz muttering to herself, wondering when the two of us had gotten so close. Once we were around the corner, Ethan grabbed my wrist and pulled me into an empty restroom, locking the door behind us. He trapped me between his arms, my back pressed against the cold tile wall. In the confined space, our breaths mingled. Before I could say anything, he was kissing me again. This kiss was different. It was raw and possessive, his tongue pushing past my lips, hot and demanding. I instinctively grabbed his shirt, unsure if I was trying to push him away or pull him closer. I twisted my head to the side, gasping for air. I told him it was enough, that we'd kissed too much today. My lips felt swollen and raw. Worse, the undeniable evidence of my body's reaction was pressing against my jeans. I tried to push him away, needing to splash cold water on my face, but Ethan suddenly knelt down in front of me. He looked up, his voice raspy. "Let me help you with that, babe." A violent shudder went through me. I grabbed a handful of his hair. "Are you insane?" His eyes locked with mine. "You don't want this?" he asked. I bit my lip hard, unable to make a sound. My hand shook as I fumbled with the lock and fled. In the hallway mirror, I saw my reflection. Face flushed, collar askew. And behind me, the image of Ethan standing up, slowly licking a stray bit of moisture from the corner of his mouth. My face was still burning when I left the set that evening. As I was changing back into my own clothes, I couldn't shake the feeling that Ethan's scent was still clinging to me. "What are you spacing out about?" A familiar voice came from behind me. I turned to see Ethan standing there. I looked away, pretending to rummage through my backpack, and said I was just tired. He reached out and took the bag from my hands. "I'll take you home." I started to refuse, but he cut me off, saying refusal was not an option. He slung his arm over my shoulder, his touch firm and unyielding. The night air was cool, but it did nothing to calm the heat in my face. As we walked, his fingertips occasionally brushed against the back of my hand. I awkwardly pulled my hand away. "Today," I began, then hesitated. "Never mind." I couldn't bring myself to ask. To ask why he did what he did in the restroom. To ask where the line was for this fake relationship of ours. Before I knew it, 2 months had flown by. Our on-screen chemistry had become so natural that we were ahead of schedule. The film was set to wrap in the next month. Logically, I should have been happy about it ending soon. But for some reason, the thought left a hollow feeling in my chest. Then, during an afternoon shoot, the accident happened. I was in the middle of a line when I heard a strange creaking sound from above. I looked up and saw one of the heavy-set lights swaying precariously. "Caleb, watch out!" Ethan yelled. He lunged at me, shoving me out of the way just as the massive fixture crashed to the ground where I had been standing, its metal frame scraping against his arm as it fell. The set erupted into chaos. But Ethan's first words were to ask if I was hurt. I grabbed his arm, my hands shaking. "Ethan, you're bleeding." Only then did he seem to notice the long gash on his arm, blood seeping through his torn sleeve. The on-set medic rushed over to bandage him up. I stood by the whole time, a storm of emotions churning inside me. Back in his trailer, I looked at his bandaged arm and asked him quietly why he'd done it. It was so dangerous. It could have been his head. He looked at me, a little stunned, then smiled and reached for my hand. He said of course he would save me. Besides, he reminded me he was always the fastest runner on the university track team. A heavy feeling settled in my chest, and I looked down without a word. Seeing my expression, Ethan squeezed my hand. He insisted it was just a small cut and that it was nothing to worry about. The only downside, he teased, was that it might delay filming a bit, meaning I'd be stuck pretending to be his boyfriend for a little longer. I finally looked up and glared at him. "Who cares about that?" I snapped. "Just focus on getting better." Ethan blinked, then a slow smile spread across his face. He laced his uninjured hand through my fingers. "It does hurt a little, though," he said, his voice soft. "Will you kiss it better?" The director gave Ethan a few days off to recover. He sat in my passenger seat on the way to his place, his injured arm resting on his lap while his other hand fidgeted with the hem of my shirt. He complained the entire ride about how much it hurt, eventually convincing me to stay at his place for a few days to take care of him. I felt so guilty that I agreed. That evening, as I was about to head to bed, Ethan stood in the doorway of his bathroom looking pitiful. His injured arm hung uselessly at his side. He told me the doctor said he couldn't get the wound wet and asked if I could help him wash up. After a moment of hesitation, I followed him in. In the steam-filled room, I unbuttoned his shirt. When it came off, I was once again confronted with the sculpted lines of his chest and abdomen. He stepped closer, his gaze intense. The pants, too. I turned my head away as I helped him out of his pants. He cooperatively raised his injured arm, the bandage now carefully wrapped in a waterproof covering. I worked up a lather with shower gel and began washing his back, my fingers tracing the tense muscles under his skin. Then he guided my soapy hand downward. Here too, he murmured. A quick glance down sent a rush of heat to my face. The man was impressively endowed. Later, after I'd changed the dressing on his arm, I was about to go to the guest room when he grabbed my sleeve. He looked up at me from his bed, saying his arm hurt too much to sleep. I sighed and offered to get him some painkillers. He slid his fingers into my palm, giving it a gentle squeeze. He said he didn't need pills. If I just lay down with him, the pain would go away. I looked at him, and something about his pale face and vulnerable expression made me give in. I lay down on the far side of the king-sized bed, keeping a careful distance. Ethan chuckled softly, then rolled closer, draping his injured arm gently over my waist. I didn't dare move, afraid I might hurt him, so I just let him hold me. Ethan's arm healed quickly, and after a week, we were back on set. The makeup artist was touching him up while I stood nearby, trying to run my lines. I couldn't help but glance at his reflection in the mirror. He caught my eye and I quickly looked down at my script, feeling my cheeks grow warm. I heard his low chuckle. His black shirt sleeves were rolled up to his elbows, revealing the faint, pink scar. It was paler than before, but to me it was still a glaring reminder. Suddenly, it was the last day of shooting. The realization hit me that these past few months had gone by much faster than I ever expected. And the strange sense of loss I'd been ignoring was now impossible to deny. For the final scene, I looked deep into Ethan's eyes. My heart was pounding, and I couldn't tell if it was Caleb the character or Caleb the person who was feeling this way. I couldn't distinguish how many of our kisses and embraces had been acting and how many had been real. My phone screen, which had been lighting up and dimming for hours, finally went dark for good. I was curled up on my sofa, staring at the ceiling. It had been several days since filming wrapped. Ethan, who had been a constant presence in my life, texting and calling daily, had gone completely silent. I wasn't used to it. After being so clingy, he'd just vanished. So it really was just an act for the shoot. Thinking back on the last few months, I realized I didn't hate him anymore. I might even like him a little. I rubbed my face, telling myself I'd just gotten too into character. It would pass. Then a trending topic caught my eye, Ethan Hayes romance. My hand trembled as I clicked on it. The photo showed him in a black trench coat, standing next to a long-haired woman in a bucket hat. I stared at the picture until my screen timed out. So that's why he'd been distant for the past few weeks. A knot formed in my chest, tight and suffocating. I slid to the floor, struggling to breathe. It turned out I was the only one who had gotten too deep. That night, after a few too many drinks, I ended up in a cab heading to Ethan's place. I crouched by his front door, smoking cigarette after cigarette. I was on my 7th when the elevator chimed. I looked up and met his startled gaze. I took a final drag and blew a smoke ring in his direction. Open the door, I slurred. We need to talk. I grabbed his collar and slammed him against the wall in his entryway. The coppery taste of blood filled my mouth, and I realized I'd bitten his lip. He let out a muffled groan but wrapped his arms around the back of my head, pulling me in and deepening the kiss. I broke away, panting. "Ethan, you son of a bitch," I gasped. "You can't just mess with my head like this and walk away. You have to take responsibility for this." He held me tight, his voice husky. "What if I give myself to you? Will that be enough?" Pushed him away. I demanded an explanation for the photo on the gossip sites. He unlocked his phone and handed it to me. He explained the woman was his cousin, who had just moved back to the country. He'd just been picking her up from the airport. He told me I could check anything I wanted on his phone. He then gently took my face in his hands, his gaze soft. He confessed that these past few months had been torture for him, holding back. But he wanted to give me time to figure out my own feelings for him. Then, he leaned down and kissed me. When he pulled back, he rested his forehead against mine, our breaths mingling. "Caleb," he said softly, "I've been in love with you for a long time." I looked at him, shocked. "Since when?" "Freshman year," he admitted. "From the first moment I saw you." I was floored. He'd had a secret crush on me this whole time. He took my hand, lacing our fingers together. "Caleb, will you be my boyfriend?" he asked. "For real this time. No more pretending." A slow smile spread across my face. "Okay."